All right. How do we start? Is it like
We
we
usually
would?
start with a hello, hello.
Okay, so that's how we start. Okay. Hello, hello.
This is the podcast, girls.
And the city. You are welcomed by your two lovely co-hosts, me, Susanna, who recent 3-day hangover just proved again that she should not be drinking at all.
And me, Elizabeth, who appears to have her life together, but is actually still trying to figure it out.
Oh, you have your life together. Come
No,
on.
I don't.
There are
That's what
just
I like
some.
to be. I mean, I like to have people think that I do, but there are just some parts that I'm just like, what are you even doing?
It's small mishaps that happened. You know.
Yes, yes.
That's all it is. Everything is perfectly fine. That's what 20s are for in the end, no?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then we become as fabulous as the ladies in Sex and the City.
Exactly. I'm slightly closer to the age where I should become fabulous. Fabulous. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, just having the week after the holidays, it's always a little bit like slower and quieter, and then people start coming back into the city. Yeah, so like this week I actually went to a really cool art thing. It's like you know how like some of the museums, also in London, they have them, but it's like a late at the museum when usually the museum is closed, but they leave it open later, like one evening a month, and you can come in for like music, good food, good vibes.
I need to try
Um,
these ones. Yeah,
they're
sounds
really fun.
great.
Yeah, so the tea in London, like the Tate Modern usually has really good ones. Um,
I know. Thank you for
yeah.
reminding me because I definitely wanted to do this and I just forgot again.
No, they're like some of my favorite things. But yeah, here they have the Phillips collection and they have a similar event. So my friend and I went, and they had like vision boarding and gratitude journals. And we've been wanting to do vision boards. We're actually doing that later today. Like the girls are coming over. I've got like old magazines, I've got like paper, I've got glue sticks, got scissors, and we're just basically gonna, map out our 2025,
That's a
be very
good start.
aspirational. Yeah, I think so too. It's very wholesome. But yeah, what about you? How's your week?
How has been my week? Well, so I enjoyed the small part of it not working still. Of course, the New Year's Eve and then the after New Year's Eve day
Right.
of suffering. That's just
Recovery?
seriously. I should not drink. I just found out that Cosmopolitan out of the list. No,
Really?
yeah, no. I mean, I was drinking Cosmopolitan the whole night,
Oh my
except
God.
one pure vodka shot. But it's still
Oh,
vodka. Um, no, it's just tequila shots. That has been the only alcohol where I
the
don't
safest
feel.
bet.
Yeah, I'm just
That's
sticking with tequila
crazy.
from now on, or nothing. So I was in bed Wednesday and trying to survive.
Sure.
Um, because for me, it's not only the head; it's also my stomach. Like I literally
Yeah.
get sick stomach, and I can't really eat anything because I
Yeah.
just feel sick.
My mother
So
literally
that
calls it alcohol poisoning. She's like, well, of course you can't eat. You're literally poisoned.
Yeah, yeah, but like most people don't have problems like with their belly. I have huge problems. So yeah, it's I'm
Fair.
poisoned basically. I purposely poisoned myself, and then I had to work on Thursday and Friday while still feeling a little bit sick. So
Yeah.
that was fun. First day at work was hard, but I managed.
Congrats.
And I am very happy it's the weekend again, and I'm not happy that it's ending soon.
Was New Year's at least fun though? Like, did you have a good time besides the recovery after?
Yeah, no, I mean, the New Year's Eve was great. Like,
Yeah.
I also don't regret drinking because it, was part of the experience.
Right.
Um, the party was nice, people were nice. I went with some friends and they made the experience very nice. So I'm happy with my decision, but I'm not gonna be drinking for a long time
Dry
now.
January is a thing, I guess.
I think it's gonna be dry quarter at least.
All right, we'll see how long you hold up, I swear.
Are you gonna now keep me accountable?
I don't know. I don't know.
No, I think I can do pretty well on this one. Because I feel so sick, I don't feel the need to do
Okay.
it again.
Gotcha. I don't know. My New Year's wasn't that heavy. It's like we did meet up at my friend's house, and it was like a very fun group of people. It was my friends, and then some other people. Like literally, the other people that we invited, besides our other friend, were people that we met at like bars or events prior to New Year's, which is really cool. It's like we've collected a group of friends, and then we went out with them on New Year's. And yeah, we ended up at like a really cool bar, and then they ended up giving free champagne at midnight,
Oh,
which was
that's
really fun.
nice.
It was a really fun atmosphere. People were really nice. And then we went to another spot and we danced a bit. And then it became pizza time. So we went to this really good place in
For
DC
free?
to, no, not for free. The pizza, I mean, it's like still like $20 for a large pizza, but like it was good. And when you're that drunk, it literally cures you. Because that's my thing is like, I cannot go to sleep drunk. I have to eat something because otherwise I
Oh,
will have
yeah.
the worst hangover or like I'll be sick for a couple of days. But if I eat, it does rejuvenate me a little bit.
I do agree with that. And I also found out this very late in my long life that I lived. No, I would never eat before going to sleep
Oh, okay.
because stupid teenage stuff in your head being like, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna eat because it's during the night, and it's like,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
good for
Yeah.
my figure. But like, I just learned this habit of not eating before going to sleep, and
Yeah.
then just
Okay.
eating when I wake up. And probably that's also why I never liked the day after. But this time I ate. I ate my spaghetti bolognese on at 4 a.m. on my bed. I was very happy that I
Yes.
had this option. I still felt quite bad next day.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
it makes it better. It obviously doesn't resolve the whole hangover. But
yeah.
it definitely alleviates some of the pain.
So I can see the point.
Yeah. But anyways, now that we're on to hangover cures, I guess we're on to episode 9, which is also kind of, I don't know, it's an interesting episode of like,
Mm.
I wouldn't say it's the happiest one, but it's also like about, it's
Hmm.
mainly about settling, right? Because the name of it is The Turtle and the Hare, which is not really giving us any information about the episode. But yeah, do you want to intro us into the episode?
Yes,
Let's do
gladly.
it.
So, in this episode, Carrie and the friends attend the wedding of their friend that basically she's perceived as the socialized that only dates very rich and successful men, and chose one that has been obviously or is, I don't know which tense to actually use, and is very successful, but we learned quickly that she's not really in love with him. It was more like convenience marriage. And that's like the whole topic or the theme of this episode is like thinking about marriage, or what are the reasons and why people do get married and why people should get married. And that's kind of where Carrie is going with this direction. Obviously, it's connected with Big again, and we learn another aspect of their kind of unsuccessful relationship, can I say at this point, where she learned as she is collecting data for her column on the marriage, that he doesn't want to get married, and it kind of bumped her because as long as before this conversation they were not really talking about it and she was not really thinking about it, but when he said it, she kind of realized that it makes me feel a little bit icky once again, because what if I want to get married one day, and then is this even, doesn't make sense for me to date someone who doesn't want to get married eventually. So that's Carrie. Meanwhile, meanwhile, Samantha, I think that's where the name of the episode comes in,
Yeah.
meets a guy on this wedding that is alpha, let's call it that way, and they go on a date, and when she leaves for bathroom, he, in that 10-minute interval, finds another woman that he hits on while she is still in the place. So she gets approached by another man that they met on the wedding,
Also the
and
wedding.
the wedding, and this man is his name is the Turtle, and he's well known in their circles because of his bad breath. So everyone avoids him, and Samantha, because she's feeling a little bit vulnerable, and he compliments her, kind of decided that she will stick with him. And the first thing that she tells him is that, listen, you have a really bad breath, so that's why people don't want to be around you. And then I would say she made him her mini project in this episode, where she kind of do a makeover of making the Turtle great. She changes his style, clothes, takes him to some places to basically make him a guy that is desirable by her. And then eventually realize that even though he looks better or like style-wise better, it's still just a Turtle. So she eventually leaves. But yeah, I mean, not sure really like if how is this connected with the rest of like the overall topic, but maybe like stuff like settling down, which we will touch upon more, like that she kind of takes some, like she feels a little bit sorry for him and maybe sees like potential in something that is not directly great, and wants to work on it instead of like finding something great. I think that's where like this slight parallel story dives in. And I think that's pretty much it. Do we have...
I mean, there's the whole topic of, like, Charlotte and also, like, the vibrators and also...
Oh my God, I forgot!
You can't forget that. I mean, Charlotte is addicted.
Oh yeah, no, oh geez, this was such a big thing in the episode. Of course, Charlotte gets hooked up on the vibrator, which is very funny because initially she's the one that is very opposed to any sex toy, and then she gets hooked up to the point that Carrie and Miranda have to save her from isolating herself from the society, which I think is like another nice area to discuss. So a lot of interesting topics in this episode. We never talked about sex toys, but we talked about marriage in previous episodes. But this is, I would say, like a different angle that we haven't really touched upon yet. It's more about this, like, why should we get married, and what marriage means to us, and also like when is the right time to settle. And
should you settle is the other question. Because I think that's the main question. Is like, in the city of great expectations, is it time to settle for what you can get? So like,
is that your question?
I think that was the main question.
Oh, I thought it was like, it's always better to marry someone who loves you more than you love them.
That's also the other. I think. Well, I mean, kind of, it's related to it. I would say, right? Because in that case, you're settling for someone that is obviously, wants you more than you want them. But that was like Brooke's great quote.
Well, that was the one that Carrie was typing.
So
right. I always take that as the main question of her column.
Yeah.
But I do have the same one that you also wrote down. I think they're like interrelated, but slightly different. But let me open with the one that actually I think is the main one, which is it always better to marry someone who loves you more than you love them? Because this is basically what the marrying friend told Carrie when she was congratulating her. And it's something also that I have discussed many times with my friends. So let's start there. And I would say, before we touch on this, the important question to open this discussion is actually, why do people get married in the first place? What are the reasons? And if you're not getting married for love, why would you do that then? Or some people, might have different opinions, but probably there are multiple reasons why someone would decide to get married. One of them, obviously, love, but not for everyone, maybe. Yeah. So, what is your stake here?
I mean, well, let me first quote Mr. Big when Carrie asked him that question of, like, why do people get married? And he said, I think he was joking, but he said companionship, guilt, political asylum. Which I think, yeah, there obviously it gives an example of like there are a number of reasons that people get married. Some people get married for green cards, other people get married for like those reasons. But if we are talking about like a legit relationship and a legit union that you're entering into, and I have heard people say that like you definitely should go marry someone that loves you more than you love them because you'll be adored for the rest of your life. But I also think like I don't know if I would necessarily do that because I would almost have that resentment for the rest of my life of like, I've settled and I am in this situation where
Mm.
someone loves me, but I might not necessarily love them. I might love the life that we built together. I might love the things that this person provides for me in my life, but I might not love them as a person. And I think that would be very difficult for me to do. So I'm not sure if I could do it. But at the same time, I would also be very fearful of marrying someone that I love more than they love me. I
I
know that's
think
a very
like
complicated answer.
I think it's like for me, it's not necessarily about marriage. It's about entering a serious relationship.
Okay.
What is better? Because I would say I've been in relationships where I was the one who loved more, and then I was also in relationships where it was the other way around. All of them ended, obviously. So, not sure which one is better. But I've heard this theory that in order for a relationship to be successful, men have to love more than women. Because if it's the other way around, it's just doomed to fail. Like, men have to be really, really interested in you to the point that that will make it work. Because if woman is interested, I think we express love differently, and women can fall in love throughout a time period or throughout the way she's treated. I think if man is not in love from the start, it's probably not going to happen, or there will be some issues.
Interesting. I mean, I hate to call it out, but the black cat and the golden retriever theory, right, also kind of makes that same claim of like the guys should be the chasers. And I mean, I think historically also like I don't want to quote evolution, but like men have always been the providers and therefore they have to be the ones to impress the women. If we look at like pigeons, you know how you walk around the park and you always see the girl pigeon and no, like literally pigeons. I'm not kidding.
You
It's
mean
like
birds? No, like this is
no,
like
no, like actual pigeons as birds walk around the park and they puff out their chests and they're trying to go around in circles around the girl trying to impress them, right? And
but isn't this a case for all birds? Like there's actually one particular type of bird
sure,
that does a dance to attract a female.
correct, but I just see pigeons more on the everyday. I don't see
Okay.
exotic birds. I see them on videos. That's true. Yeah, there are some, and I think that's like a lot of times nature. I think it's super unfair that the males are always more attractive than the females because I think they do have to impress the females.
Yeah.
And not to say that's like also true about humans, but I think it is to a degree. And I think that's even more so. I mean, we talked about this in the first episode. Is like women are becoming more and more successful. Like honestly, it's like men are great and nice to have, but at the same time, it's like I can have a great life and I have, like, you know, I can provide for myself. I can do this, I can do that. Though I am saying, like, there is space for men in our lives, but it's just like they're not like a crutch that we have to lean on or we have to enter into codependent relationships where, like, back in the day, you needed a man to open a bank account. You don't need that today. And so today it's like it's a slightly different dynamic, but I think there still has to be an element of like that chasing, but I don't know if it like is to the same degree. I think it has to like maybe the initial like approach or attraction has to come from them, but I don't necessarily think that like it has to be that one-sided throughout the relationship.
Yeah. I mean, like, I agree with you. I think that initially it should be more of that type of dynamics, in my opinion, in order for the relationship to have the potential to work. But obviously, once you become more than just initial like the initial phases of the relationship fade out, it must be mutual always, and both of them have to want to invest. I actually found this theory of love by browsing through internet and Reddit.
I'm ready. What is the internet telling
developed
us love is?
developed by psychologist Robert Sternberg. It's called the triangle theory of love. That claims that love consists of three key components: intimacy, so that is emotional closeness, bonding, and a sense of connection; passion, that is about physical attraction, sexual desire, and intense emotional arousal; and then commitment, which refers to a decision to maintain the relationship over time, even during difficult moments. And based on the combination of these three, there are different types of love. So there are like 8 of them. I don't know if I want to go through all of it. Some of, like if, for example, if you have intimacy only, it's liking friendship. So it's more like close friends, but the other 2 aspects are missing. Then there's romantic love, for example, which combines intimacy and passion. So the first 2 items, but if there is no long-term commitment, so this happens in the early stage of relationships, if there is no long-term commitment coming from both sides, it's actually not really perceived as successful from a long-term perspective. And then, according to this theory, the most successful one is called consummate love, that combines obviously all three of these, and that is the ideal form of love. But what it also says is that different people would pick different parts of these type of love based on what they find important for a long-term successful relationship. And I think it kind of goes back to why people get married, and that it's not always just love, and different people have different expectations or idea of why marriage would make sense for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think like there is also the aspect of like Brooke saying that like, yeah, you should definitely marry someone that loves you more. And in that case, they were talking about like, yeah, there are a ton of like investment bankers. They're not all that interesting to them, but they are rich, they are successful, they can provide for them. And when her and Carrie go to return her gifts and they run into Samantha and the turtle, the last thing that like Brooke walks away with, she's like looks at Samantha and the turtle, and she's like telling Carrie, she's like, "Oh, smart girl," meaning that like, oh, look at another one settling for a subpar guy who she's not necessarily in love with, but she's trying to make the most out of it. And I think like that kind of is a marriage that it doesn't have love in it. I don't think like when she marries this guy, she's marrying him for love. I think she's marrying him for obviously supporting her lifestyle, for that level of security. Because I think maybe that's what she loves and deems to be important. And I think there are people that do get married for those reasons. But yeah, I think that's not the classical romantic choice that we're trying to like pick apart.
I mean, we have a whole like Asia culture where love is actually not so important when it comes to marriage, and there's the idea of arranged marriages, which, funnily enough, when I talked about it in the past with some of my friends, sometimes some of them said that it's actually better. Like it's stronger from like long-term perspective than if you marry or if you create a relationship based on love. Because when you have a relationship or a marriage based on compatibility or stuff like, okay, now we are put together and we have to be a unit and we need to create these pillars, right? Like trust, support, all these things, that from long-term perspective, it is making the relationship stronger than if you just build on love and then after few I don't know, months, years, that kind of fades away. But if you don't have the other things built up or you're not compatible, it's probably going to fail. So that was kind of interesting also to think about, because I think in the Western culture, first of all, movies form our idea of how successful marriage or relationship should look like. But also, we get married out of love predominantly. Yeah. But anyway, what is your stake here?
I don't know. I'm trying to think about it. And it's also like, I completely agree that love is definitely one aspect of it. And I've also heard people say that like over the years, sometimes love might fade, and it's more, it does come down to that compatibility of it. Especially if you are not just building a marriage as a union, but you're also trying to build like a family and a life together, and like you're integrating them into your family. I think it's definitely more important who they are as a person, their values, and your compatibility. Because at the end of the day, and I know this is a horrible way to view it, but I think of like the concept of a family, and this is maybe just kind of like my family was structured. But my parents are just really good at this group project of having our family. It's like everything, like there's a whole framework for making decisions. There's like how they think about this, how they approach things, and it's always like we come together as a unit. And they've kind of created this idea of it, and I think it's run as a very well run group project.
They're
Not to
good
say
at
my
teamwork, basically.
they are essentially, and they have like very compatible skills. Like my mom has the great intuition, and she has like the knowledge and understanding of like being able to read people, to think like the foresight of consequences. Whereas my dad's much more rational and logical, and he can take care of like the practical things. So like they come together very well, and there are very few decisions that they've ever made without each other, and I think that has worked very well because they have such different perspectives that come together very well. And to me, I think that's like much more important in a marriage. And not to say that like I'm looking to settle, but like I am looking to find someone who is like a lifelong like team partner, I'd say.
Plus, there is love, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I have to like them, but we have to be able to hang out. Like, we
Yeah.
have to find each other interesting. Uh, but I'm not saying it like has to be like that extreme passionate love when you're just all over each other 24/7, because I don't think that's a realistic expectation.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to like them, I guess.
It's also good, like, the fact that you've had this model as a way to think about how the marriage looks like, or like how the relationship should function, is really good starting point for you to find something that, in my opinion, is healthy, because it sounds pretty healthy as a relationship.
It works.
On like, oh, of course, I mean, I'm generalizing now. Every relationship has their ups and downs. But overall, it's much better than what I had as a starting point, which was like absent father and my mom taking care of everything.
Right.
Kind of gives you a little, I would say, unfair perception of the importance of men in the partnership. But I'm gonna enrich our conversation from some of opinions of Reddit people.
Okay.
And I want to kind of go through it and then hear your opinion on like specific conceptualization or opinions about why people should or should not marry. So the first one that I found interesting and wrote down is: never get married if you are not sure. Basically, don't get married for a comfortable friendship, because if you're not sure, that means that it's not going to be good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, gut feelings. I think, like, again, if your intuition is saying no.
What if your intuition is like, I'm not sure?
I think there's so many things that would come into play. It's like, how long have you been together? It's like, I think after a while of being together, let's say you're together for like a year or so, you kind of know like the ins and outs of that person, and you kind of have a feeling whether they are or they're not right for you, right? What do you
would
think?
say after a year already.
I think so. I think a year is a good amount of time. I know that I have some friends who've gotten like engaged a couple of months in, and for me, I just don't know if I could tell that early on. My butterflies, my like honeymoon period, and my feels are all over the place, and I could like convince. I'm a Pisces. I'm going to convince myself that it's just like my romantic
old fashioned romantic.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'll be delusional. I'll convince myself of anything. So I gotta give myself time. But what about you? When do you think something is maybe off, or like you're not 100% sure, like should you do it or no?
Well, I think this is again applicable to relationships in general, but marriage obviously is like one step further in terms of seriousness. I would say if you are unsure, it's a no.
Okay.
I also would say it's too early after 1 year
interesting.
to know whether this is the right person or not, because depends how much happened in that year. It might be just that you had the most transformational year, and you saw, and also the partner seen you going through like different aspects of life, different emotions, struggles, and I think that's ultimately what is important to understand about each other. Like, how do we deal with change and uncomfortable things. But if it's like been great and like your life outside of the relationship was great and you haven't experienced struggle with each other or like together, coping with the struggle together, I don't know. I think you need to know that. So it would depend on the year. But I think 1 year, probably I would give it like a little bit more time.
A little more, okay. A couple months.
Yeah. All right. Next thing. There is a difference between passion and love. Passion is what you have in the beginning, and it's driven by lust. And in all honesty, it doesn't last a lifetime. Marriage should never be based on lust. It should be based on the calm, slow burning love that you have with a best friend.
Yes and no. I think you can still have passion develop throughout your relationship, come in and out. I think that's like a thing. But I agree that like if you purely have lust for someone and nothing else, then yeah, you probably shouldn't do it. What about you?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think
Okay.
if you only have... So there was this nicely put concept. Oh my God, I can't speak today. There was the sentence that I think describes this great. Someone you love, but you are not in love with.
Yeah.
So you can love the person, and that's the part of like best friend feeling comfortable. But if you are not in love with them, which is like the passion, probably more, it's not gonna work in my opinion, or like it wouldn't work for me. There must be that element of attraction or passion or whatever it is, even though it will like fades away within time. If it's not there from the beginning, I don't think it's a right thing to do to get married to that person.
Yeah.
For me, again, I think there are different people. Some people marry for status, just
Support.
companionship, whatever. I know
Political asylum.
actually 2 friends of mine, like really good friends. They got into a partnership because of citizenship.
Yeah.
So different reasons. And none of these relationships work or are like going on anymore, which kind of says something, but it happens. Okay, next thing. If you should only marry if you really want to, what does a marriage... Okay, never mind. This is my question. What does a marriage mean to you, basically? So I think it kind of goes back to what we already discussed.
Yeah, but I think it's also like I think it's an important thing to state is we're talking about settling. We're saying like everyone is meant to be married. I don't think that's the case. There are people who don't want to be married. I also know people who have been like lifetime partners, but just chose never to be married for different reasons. I don't think it's a must. I think, it comes down to, I mean, we love these labels, and I was talking to a friend, earlier this week, and she's telling me, she's like, the Western world just loves to label everything. She's like, it's not that simple. It's a lot more complex. There's like so many varieties of relationships that like marriage isn't the ultimate thing. If we are talking about long-term companionship, I think this conversation is definitely applicable. But yeah, you're not required. Like, and then we're talking about like having to settle, and so like, do you have to settle? Do you have to get married? It's like we also know stories of like older people marrying, getting divorced, and then deciding that like love and like marriage is not for them, and then they just meet someone in their 50s and 60s who are just like, where have you been my whole life? Right? There's no one size fits all, and I don't think like you have to get married or you have to settle. It's like no one's putting that pressure on you. It's definitely a life choice that alters how you live and your lifestyle. So definitely better be a good informed choice.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it was meant by this comment, that you should understand if that's really a thing that is necessary for you to begin with. Like, if you, what does it mean for you to be married? Like, is that even a no-brainer, or you are just kind of following societal expectations that is not necessarily so important to you as an individual?
Yeah. I mean, there's also aspects of life where it makes the bureaucracy easier, right? People get also married that like they have been long-term partners for like, let's say 10 years, but then all of a sudden they decide that they want a house, that they want to get a mortgage and all these things. And those things are definitely simpler to do if you are in a married relationship. There are sometimes like, if you're like domestic partners and that works. But yeah, like mortgages, insurance, all those kinds of things become a lot simpler because of how society is built on like, yeah, you better have a marriage contract.
So basically, like our world is based on the fact that it's more beneficial for you to be married than to be living with someone but not married.
Definitely.
Okay, last comment. Even if you don't love him, they will say, at least he will take care of you. So marrying someone that you don't necessarily love, but like he kind of seems to be perfect on paper. You can work on cultivating the love after marriage over time. And this is particularly common in Asia, where one's self-worth can be tied to the relationship and marital status.
Yeah, I think that's a really tough one because I think like as I mentioned before, like the growing resentment, it's also like from their perspective, I feel bad for the guy because it's like he keeps on giving and giving and giving, but then potentially he'll just never get like any love back besides having maybe like a trophy wife, right? And in that sense, and I was actually watching a show last night called Bad Monkey, but there is like a relationship where this guy finds this like younger, attractive girl, and she just essentially like takes advantage of him and makes him do all these things where it seems like she doesn't love him, but she loves all the things that he is providing for her. But I feel bad
So
for the guy because
she loves him, but she's not in love with him, or she loves
that's
whatever
right, right. Like,
he
and
makes her feel.
she loves like what he gives her. She loves what he does for her, but she doesn't love him as a person. And so I think because she's not like giving that back, he eventually is like, "But I've been doing all of this, all of that for you, and you haven't given me anything back." So I think that it's a very one-way relationship. I just don't know if I could do it. I can't take advantage of people like that. Because like even if they do love and adore me, I'm not sure if just my presence in their life is enough. I think they like everyone deserves to be loved, and I just don't know if I couldn't love someone, I don't think I could marry for them, even though they do promise me the absolute world. How about you? What would you do it?
No, I mean, I think it comes to how empathetic you are as a person versus how psychopathic you are as a person.
Empathetic, psychopathic, two choices, only two.
Unfortunately, these things you cannot really choose. It's something you're born with versus not, or the
I kind of know in
connection.
between though.
I mean, it's a scale. But I've read this book, Confessions of a. Now I don't know if it was psychopath. I think it was psychopath, and it was
Oh
basically
God.
a story of a woman who is declared to be psychopath based on
Yeah.
there's like a bunch of tests that you do, and then they will say, oh yeah, you are a psychopath. It doesn't mean that you are a criminal. It's just like you lack empathy, and
Yeah.
because of that you can do a lot of things in your life that
And not so
other
bad.
people. Yeah, exactly. Like you will hurt people, or like your actions will hurt people, but you don't feel anything. So like for you, it's not that bad to do it because you benefit from it. And that's what I mean. Like if you are more towards the scale of that extreme, it probably this type of relationship would work for you. Because there would be some clear advantage that you see, and that makes sense for you. And if you're more empathetic, like in your case, you recognize that the person is ultimately deserving more of what you can give him or
Yeah.
her, and you want someone to, like you don't want to be taking that opportunity away from the person. So I would say I had that realization throughout my relationships, where sometimes I would be in a relationship where I felt that the person is giving more, or like is more in love with everything, including me, than I was, and it didn't feel right because I still care for the person, but I could recognize that I didn't feel as deep in love, whatever, as they deserve. So I would eventually call it off, because it would be unfair to keep
Yeah.
that relationship going. And also, like, you also deserve, as like on my end, you deserve to feel, or like to get it all. So settling for something good, in my opinion, is not the best way to approach that.
Yeah. Now, hot take. Do you think that's what Mr. Big's doing? Because, like, he said that he doesn't ever want to get married, but I think he is kind of to a degree taking advantage of Carrie, who's giving him all this fun and excitement, and he's kind of hiding the fact that like, yeah, we could potentially have something, but it's never going to end in a marriage, even though I think like it's pretty clear. Maybe, I mean, it's not explicit. She never said that she's like, there's never been conversations like, I'm looking for marriage. But I think it's pretty clear that she wants a long term relationship and marriage. But he's kind
I
of
mean, she
like,
said it. She said at some point, like, ultimately, I want to get married one day.
yeah, yeah. So like, I think, I don't know if he's taking advantage and like just not giving her that, but I think it's a little bit unfair in the situation.
Are you really asking me this question? I basically was bashing the relationship for the past 4 episodes. It just shows again that he's not perceiving the relationship the same way that she is, and obviously he's taking advantage of it because he's getting exactly what he wants to, which is fun. He likes
Yeah.
Carrie, but he
Yeah.
doesn't see her as a partner for like marriage material or like serious commitment. He's unsure. I mean, he said it in the previous episode or like 2 episodes ago. He's like, I just am not sure yet.
Yeah. I think it's
So,
because he's gone through divorces and like again, I've not been through a divorce, but as far as I know, it kind of takes a lot out of you, especially if you are dealing with someone who's like a little bit more high profile. There might be like houses involved, there might be like shared
yeah.
bank accounts involved and all those things and like the lawyers and the back and forth. Like that is an emotional toll. So I understand him from that perspective of like why might he not want to go through that again, but that is yeah, because he said that he was married before because he was young and in love
In
and
love.
a fool,
But I
and then
also
he was a fool in court.
I don't believe this bullshit because he actually gets married later on,
Yes.
very quickly, and I also believe that when you meet the right person, these perceptions suddenly
Go out the door.
change,
Yeah.
and like yeah, like you suddenly feel it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this can go for being in a relationship, getting married, having kids, or having a pet, whatever, moving somewhere. Like you would say, I don't think that's for me, and then you meet this person and suddenly you realize, oh my god, like I want to do it with this person because
Yeah.
they are making me feel a certain way that opens the need in me to do that. So I think it's just simply he doesn't feel that around Carrie, and I mean, poor her. She's still available, even though obviously her needs are not being met. And he probably just, I wouldn't say he takes an advantage, but he's definitely utilizing the fact that she's around, and whatever he sets as a standard is the standard.
Yeah. Now, what do you think about the the kind of advice, the conversation that the girls had after Carrie brought this into, I guess, their dining conversation? But Miranda's quote was like, "Men who want to get married are men who miss their mommies," and then Samantha says, "Just be cool and not act like you don't care." So it's like, and then Miranda also says that men will be obsolete in years. You can't talk to them. You don't need them for kids. And then that's how they go to the topic of vibrators. But like, it's interesting because yeah, Samantha's like, yeah, play it cool, and then he'll eventually realize that he wants to marry you, which I'm not sure is exactly sound advice. Though I think Miranda's kind of right of like, what is the motivation for men to get married? Is like they do miss someone caring for them in that companionship, even though they don't like the same way. It's like I've dated people in the past who are like, I don't need anything. I can support myself. I can feed myself. I can do all this myself. And I think it's like the world's kind of, it's not becoming divided, but I think it is true that like our relationships and marriage as much of a necessity as they potentially used to be like 100 years ago.
So
Heavy one.
how do I start? For the first time, I would say I don't agree with neither of the statements.
Okay.
And usually I would kind of side with Samantha. This time I don't at all. I don't think
Don't
like
be cool.
that just sounds like a player move, but not like genuinely, when you like someone that like you should just be honest.
Yeah.
I do see some truth in the mama's boy, but it's more like if your mom just didn't do good job in learning you how to be independent and actually take care of your partner, but the other way around, like she
Be
would
taken care of.
always,
Yeah.
yeah, and then you don't know how to do it, you would look for a woman that would basically take over your role, the role of
There
mom.
are mama's boys though that do take care of their mothers, and I think those ones maybe have a better chance being in like a stable relationship because from early on it's like yes, your mother take care of you, but now that like you're old enough and you're like capable enough to take care of like not even your mother, your family in general, like father should also be taken care of.
I mean,
um
there are like different aspects, right? Like what I
yeah,
meant, or what I understood was more like you don't do your laundry because you bring
right.
it to your mom, or when there's like, there's old care she didn't realize when was the right time for you to take care of yourself, but like the mother continues to like be the mom even if you're 25 or 30.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. What you are saying is more like how they treat their mother, and I would say that like that's very important to understand the dynamic, also how they like perceive a role of a female. I think in relationships also, like if you see that your partner has very very bad relationship with their parents, I think that's not
It's a red
ideal.
flag.
I don't know if it's a red flag. Like I don't want to say it's a red flag
Okay, an
because
orange flag.
it's definitely something that you should understand more, and how that impacts their mental state and the capacity to show and receive love. Because it's definitely something that is not ideal. But if they take good care of their mom, I think that's a green flag in
Yeah, or
what
they're,
I
I mean, that's what I'm saying, like in family in general, it's like
yeah.
grandparents too. It's like, it's definitely something that I've grown up with. It's like that dynamic of, and again, this might be just Eastern European families, but like you have a whole entire village that will love and care for you as like your child as you're being brought up into the world. But then as soon as you are like on stable footing, it's like now kind of on you to take care of them. It's like there is that dynamic. And I think that's a relatively healthy one. It's not that you have to dedicate your entire life to your family, but you also like, we see that in American movies a lot. It's like as soon as you're 18, you're like free and liberated from your family. You never have to see them again or take care of them. And it's like, oh, they fled from the nest, and now it's like that there's that break in the relationship. I think that's actually kind of sad and lonely, and I think that's why we have a lonelier population of elderly people because, and it's very
That's
common in
true.
America for people to put them into like elderly homes and hope like, they just live off of that and be fine with other older people. Um, but I think it's like it's definitely much healthier to still engage with your family, still support them, still visit them, have them be a part of your life. Um, but now I think I digress into like family dynamics.
No, I mean, I think eventually you do whatever you were taught. So
Yeah.
whatever understanding of dynamics between parents and children you were taught, that's what you're gonna do when you are like an adult, and
Yeah.
that's how you're gonna take care of your parents versus not. If you felt from yeah, we're probably like moving a little bit away from the topic, but I'm gonna just finish the sentence
Yeah.
and then we can go. If you have felt that your parents were kind of always making you feel that you can't rely on them and like you are your own entity, and even telling you like when you're 18, like we want you out, obviously like when you're adult you're not gonna feel like I want
Yeah.
to take care of them, probably because you were never shown that love to begin with, and vice versa. Like if you have been very much cared for as a child, you have more tendency to like return it, in my opinion. And then there are cultures that do it better than the others. I think it's more
Yeah.
like individualistic versus collectivistic cultural background that you're coming from.
Communism versus capitalism. Just kidding.
Now,
Uh,
anyway,
okay.
there is
Yeah.
one more thing that we didn't touch on, and that was
Oh
the
dear.
the sexual toys, right?
Okay, this is where it came into the conversation. It's like when Miranda's like, "You can't talk to
Yeah,
men. You don't need them for kids. Well, you don't need them for sex." And then Charles is like, "Hold up, hold up, hold up. What do you mean vibrators?"
yeah.
She was like, "I'm saving sex for someone that I love." And she's also scared that she'll enjoy the vibrator more than she would like having sex with a man. And then fast forward, Charlotte like can't stop.
That's, by the way, I love this part of the episode.
Oh, Charlotte.
When so the vibrator is called Rabbit, and then she hit the vibrator called Rabbit behind the actual toy rabbit when they came to intervene.
Oh my god, that killed me.
Um,
She also canceled plans with her friends. It's not even that like she told Carrie is like, oh, I've got like a long distance international call, and then the next time they were meant to hang out, she's like, oh, I'm like I just can't go. I have to stay in, and that's like when Miranda and Carrie really get it together and come intervene. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So, how is your
Okay,
perception?
I did research.
Oh, you.
I did research on New Year's because you know we were Ubering around between bars, and let's say like the car was full of half and half girls, like half guys, half girls. The guys were so quiet. I think they were just so like interested to listen.
When you opened the discussion about the
When
toys,
I
I
opened the
assume.
discussion, because I said I was like the episode's about settling and vibrators, and my friend was like, "Well, I can't tell you much about settling, but I can talk about vibrators," which I thought was iconic. Um,
Well, to the point. We like directness.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the answer was predominantly like yes and no. You can get what you can't get from a man, so there's nothing wrong with it. But it's also like you
Okay,
can still.
let me prefix. First of all,
Okay.
how
Okay.
many of your friends are using it?
Two of them said they have, um, and then
Out
the
of
guys were just silent. No, there's like three girls in a car, and then it was three guys. So like the guys were just
okay.
silent. I'm guessing they haven't.
Wow.
um,
I think there's also
okay.
less toys for men than there are for women. Like it's either for women or for couples.
Yes, that's right. And that's the point of it. So, like, my friend, I was like, okay, what if it's like with a guy? And she is like, I swear, quote me on this. She is like, if you're a man and you can't deal with a vibrator, then you're a pussy.
I mean, I agree. I am just thinking about how did that potentially go?
I mean, I think it's just like any sex toy.
Like
It's like we're not gonna.
they would get angry that you're using one, or like they
Yeah,
would get
I mean,
spooked.
I could understand where guys might feel like they're insufficient or incapable because, yeah, potentially, like Charlotte has said, she's like, I've never had the same feeling with a vibrator that I have with a man. And so, like, I think that might be the intimidating factor, which I could understand. But at the same time, you just have to understand it's just a piece of technology. Let's all calm down. Like you can still like it's one of those things that we talked about. I'm not going to compare it to threesomes, but it's one of those things that can like spice up your relationship as well as like
Yeah.
going back to the same conclusion made last time. It's like good communication is key. And if somebody is so sensitive about like intimacy to a degree that like they're not comfortable with it, I understand. But it's also you like I don't know if you can replace a man with a vibrator. I don't think you can, but
No,
if
like
that's what men think, like, okay, let's chill
because
out a little
there's
bit.
so much more. Like one thing is
Yeah,
orgasm. That
yeah,
orgasm. It sounds weird when I say it. Another thing is the whole thing around it, right? Like
yeah.
the chemistry, the intensity or the
Passion,
passion, love
so
that
many
you
things.
feel. It just makes the experience different. So I
Definitely.
think it's a good thing to do when you're single or you just feel like I have a need now. So let me
Yeah,
get like go on with my life, do it, and like continue. I have to say that I think sometimes it might be more difficult with the guy to like navigate them, and if you are in control of what's happening, it's maybe easier. So I would say it's also good to learn about your own body and what you like and what you don't to use the
definitely.
toy.
Yeah.
But it cannot replace a guy. I mean,
No, and I think that's where like my friend was also I think mentioning is just like it kind of adds like an extra level of spice, right? It's like at the
yeah.
end of the day, it's like it's also a part of it is also like giving the other person pleasure. It's like it doesn't really matter through what means. It still feels like it's coming from the heart. So it's like it's still like the good intention is still there, so there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying that like that's the only thing that you should be doing, but again, it brings back some spice and spark there, so I don't see anything wrong with it. And I don't see like why men should be like intimidated by it or in any way. At the end of the day, it's I'm not saying we have to go all 50 Shades of Grey on this, but like it's a sex toy. Like
But if you can, go.
everyone has their preferences. I'm not going to judge. Uh, but yeah, but Charlotte is hilarious. Anyways,
All
the other
right.
thing I think we forgot to mention
What did we
was
forget?
Carrie's, I guess, like realization that she does want family and kids, and then she does go back to Big, who then kind of brushes the topic completely under the rug, and is like, "I thought we were just having fun." And then I think this is actually my least favorite concluding moment out of all the episodes that we've seen so far. Um, is just basically him cooking dinner, making her feel great, and then all of a sudden she comes to the conclusion of like, live in the moment and not worry about the future. Where she, like, this guy
Yeah, that's
basically just
just bad.
indirectly told her he doesn't want to get married, and he completely ignored what she just said and did not take it seriously.
He did the same thing than the last episode. Like, remember when I told you, like, he just, like, went in, kissed her, and she forgot everything that she was concerned
Yeah.
about? It's the same thing. Again, like, he's just dismissive of her concerns, says something or does something, usually, like, kiss, whatever. And then, like, suddenly Carrie is all back in her dream
La La
world.
Land.
Yeah. Not good. I also
Not
didn't
good.
like the answer. Like, the only way to true happiness is to live in the moment and not to worry about the future. I mean, yes,
Yeah.
but that's not how. No.
Yeah, I'm not saying like one should put pressure on marriage in relationships, but the way that he threw it completely off the table and said that's not something that's like accessible to her ever, I would say that would ring alarm bells in my head.
And that's what I mean when I said always the one who sets the standards. Like, I really don't like that dynamic in the relationship. Carrie is obviously trying to communicate and sharing her concerns. I mean, sometimes it takes her a little bit of time to express that, and like she can go a little bit mental.
Yeah.
But she eventually always vocalizes her concerns. And I mean, I can't even say if there have been once an instance of where he would openly acknowledge it and like make her feel secured or you know, provide some kind of secure answer to her to ensure her that it's fine. Like he
Yeah.
would just, he doesn't do it.
Agreed. Agreed.
So I don't like the answer. Actually, my answer was that the ultimate way is, first of all, you understand about yourself what is the role of marriage to you, what does it mean, and once you have that clear, so whatever you expect from marriage or how important it is for you, then you make a move on how much that plays a role in your relationship versus not. I think she doesn't even know really what marriage means to her.
Yeah. And I don't know if we have enough context of like the marriages around her. We don't know anything about her family, I don't think really.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of context clues we can pick up on either. And yeah, but I think that moment with Stan's grandmother and seeing all the family photos and all that kind of really shook her and made her realize that like it is really something that she wants, and the fact that it was just taken away from her like that is, you know,
Unfair. I mean,
it really is.
I think we can definitely conclude she wants to marry for love. I think that's clear.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's in love with Big. And that's the problem here. Like,
That's the other thing. It's like, what is she really in love with? I think like she's in love with the way he makes her feel and like the fun times that they have. But like, what foundation have they really built for her to like? I think,
that's a really, I think, complex question to answer. Probably
yeah,
gonna take another episode. Like, what is it really that makes Mr. Big the one for Carrie? And to what extent that's love versus to what extent that's like fulfillment of her perception of where she wants to be
Yeah.
in her life, status wise and society, yeah, wise. But I do think that she has feelings towards him. They both have feelings towards each other.
I don't know, because the idea of the fact that he was just saying, like, oh, we're just having fun, it kind of, it diminishes that idea of, like, feelings. It just, like, it seems like just silly
Oh, it's
fun
just
of,
like
like, hanging out.
lust, basically.
Kind of. Kind of. Yeah.
Well, I okay. I'm gonna say something now that might explain a little bit more why I'm having this opinion. I'm currently on season 2.
Oh my god, stop. Stop. Why are you watching ahead?
Because I felt miserable on New Year's after the
I
New Year's
know.
Day, and I just spent the whole day watching Sex and the
I mean,
City.
I did that like
So
once.
comforting.
I watched 2 episodes in a row and then I got them all mixed up. So I have to do it one at a time. Otherwise, I forget what happened. And then it
Yeah.
just.
But like I'm kind of picking up on some things that happen in the future, and you're right. Right now we can't really say whether he likes her really or it's just like lust and whatever.
And just fun. Like, again,
Yeah.
she's a great person to be around, right? She's super interesting.
And she
She's.
also doesn't challenge him. Like
No, she's
she
very
has not
sweet.
once challenged him. She would raise a concern, but like he responds, and then she's like, "Okay,
Okay. Yeah. But okay, fine. Episode 10 is going to be the next one. It's about the baby
okay,
shower.
ready."
I kind of vaguely recall that one. I think it gets a little bit spicy. I think we talk more about like women and friendships and babies, so that's gonna be fun.
But wait, like, what is your answer here? So, like I said, my like ultimate way to respond to it is like understand what marriage means for you, and then kind of make your judgment based on that.
Yeah, I'd kind of agree. It's like, one, decide for yourself, do you want to be married? Like, as an idea, is this something that's appealing to you? And then if so, then yeah, there's definitely a lot of factors that go into it because as they kind of alluded to it, divorces are messy. There's nothing wrong with getting divorced. I don't think you're like a failure as a person. It just happens. I think it's definitely a lot more socially acceptable than it was before because I think before it's like, oh, like, you're this like divorcee and it's like there's like a dark cloud over it, but now it's a little bit more socially acceptable. However, I think if you can get a chance to know that person a lot better and if you get a chance to live with them and basically understand, can you actually do this long term, then yeah, then you can do it. As well as don't go after that passion. It will fade. And I personally wouldn't go after the roller coaster of emotions. Like, if the person makes you feel really great, and then the next day they make you feel really bad, it's just not worth it. I think it takes away too much of that emotional energy.
Oh yeah, it will exhaust you.
Yeah. And for no reason, because, like, again, at the end of the day, the person, your partner, you come home to, they should feel like a safe space. Like,
Yeah, definitely. That I
So.
agree.
that'd be my take. And I'd say, yeah, stay away from guys who say they don't want to get married.
They don't want to get
like,
married.
That
Wait,
they
wait.
don't want to get married.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
like
I was like,
just think,
stay away
like,
from guys
no,
who want to get
there's,
married.
like,
And I was like, what?
No, it's just like, again, we've said it before, like, guys make their intentions really clear up front, right?
Yeah.
If they say they don't want a relationship, you can't fix them. If they say they want marriage, you can't fix them. They might change their mind and want it down the line, but it might not be with you.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree. Just
yeah, I
listen to
think-
what they say and ask
Yeah.
if you are unsure, especially at the beginning, because I think that prevents that emotions will
Heartache.
get involved in if you're not having the same vision of the future, which is basically contradictory to what Carrie's answer is, that live in the moment, don't think about the future. Think about the future, but
You can still live in the moment, but, like...
exactly. Like, enjoy the moment, but think about the future, because if you don't think about the future, that's probably not the right strategy.
Yeah, and I also don't think you should, like, if someone tells you that they don't want marriage, I don't think you should change your perspective on it either, because it might also be a tendency to be like, oh, but maybe, okay, but for them, I'll change my ways or change my thinking. I don't think that's worth it either, just because you
Don't
kind of
settle.
lose... Don't
Like,
settle. Like, you're losing a bit of yourself.
depends how important marriage for you is. Like, if it's something that you know you want, then yeah, don't settle. If it's like, I don't really care, like it's not like non-negotiable for me. Like I can go with both directions. Maybe that's a different story. But yeah, it should not be like, I don't feel completely okay about this decision, but I will do it for the other partner just so I can stay with them. In this context, like if something,
Right.
like important
Yeah.
to you.
But that being
All right.
said, I still haven't been proposed to, so I don't have marriage so on the table right now.
Yeah, like let's review this topic in 5 to 10 years down the line.
Yeah, we'll do another recap of our previous podcast. If,
And we'll just be like, oh yeah, Miranda was right, or like Samantha was right. I just don't settle, like don't marry, be single, or
yeah,
not.
if I get into a stable relationship and someone pops the question, we maybe can do a retake and then like actually talk about what goes through our heads at that point. But yeah, take our advice, I guess, with a grain of salt. But this is just, like,
and this is not an advice. This is just our conclusion. If you agree, great. If you don't agree, good for you as well.
still drop it in the comments though. Let
yeah.
us know. Cool. Anything else? I think we can close that for today.
No, I think we covered this episode pretty well.
Awesome. And it's not
Great.
overly long.
Well, let's see about that. I think we are sticking to the 1 hour. 10
I
minutes.
hope people are enjoying it.
Let's see. No, they are.
Goodness.
All right. Then this is it for today, and we will see you, see you and hear you, or whatever that is,
Next week.
next week. Bye.
Ta-ta.